Welcome into a very exciting episode of the Scene Project Sports Network. I am your host, Bubba Startz, and with me today is Coach Cody Hommedahl. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Well, we've been talking a lot, really, this past week or so. But for all of our listeners and our viewers out there that don't know you, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then a little bit about, we'll get into the team a little bit later.
Yeah. Well, I'm just a 34-year-old dude, coaching football, from Minnesota, born and raised, and I'm just looking to make an impact in the state and bring arena football back to Minnesota. Took on the role as head coach and co-GM as the St. Paul Bears arena team, and our season starts in September, but we're already rocking and rolling, and got a lot of big things happening for us. So
I'm sure it's felt like an avalanche this last month or two as it kind of, getting into the league, having to assemble a team. Let's take it through the process, right? So when do you find out that, when does the owner contact you and kind of peg you for this GM coach role? And we'll just kind of baby step it from there.
yeah, absolutely. So before this, I was a defensive backs coach for the Minneapolis Warriors, semi-pro outdoor 11-man team. Shout out to Coach MJ. But during the back half of our season, actually during playoffs, I got a random message on my phone, asking if I was available to coach or looking for other coaching options after the season, and I was, intrigued, so I played along with it, and it slowly just built momentum. And before I knew it, I thought I was going to be an assistant coach or something like that. And then I get a message, and they're just like, it was the Bears, St. Paul Bears, Facebook, and it said, we would be interested in looking for you to be our head coach. And I got that, and I was like, all right, game on. Thought about it, weighed out my options. The Minneapolis Warriors are a dynasty type of team. You know, high caliber players, high caliber coaches, and we actually lost in the championship game this past year in overtime, on a 2-point conversion. So my options, when I was weighing it out, thinking about it, I'm like, do I stay with this team, knowing what I got, this close to a ring, this close to a natty berth, and or do I, take on this endeavor and just grow? And ultimately, you're never going to grow inside your comfort zone. I try to live outside of my comfort zone daily, and this was a jump, and so I took it, and everything I do 100%. So I knew that there'd be some roller coaster rides, some ups and downs. I knew I was going to be tested, tempted, but God doesn't give us more than what we can handle. So I'm just trying to enjoy the moment, everything.
And that's, I think, what attracted me to you. We were introduced by mutual friend and new head cheer coach, Kayla Kay. And she was just like, "Oh, you got to get Coach Cody on." And I didn't know anything about you or the St. Paul Bears at the time. But what's attracted me to not just the team, but to you specifically is that there is a warrior spirit inside of each and every individual that is a part of this organization. Kayla's been a guest on the Scene Projects, and her episode came out recently. It's one of the first ones that I listened back to because I remember the conversation in that day being so powerful because we both shared a background of, maybe some jail time and some addiction issues and but having things that pulled us out. For me and Kayla, I think music is a big part of that. But for a lot of young men and young women, sports is the way out of that. So I see so many similarities between, not just my own story, but a lot of, stories of triumph. And no, I don't think there's a better encapsulation of that than Arena League football. these indoor football leagues, these young men have dreams of playing at the highest level, and for whatever reason in their past have probably been passed over for opportunities at the high school level, at the college level, obviously at the pro level, and but they just keep coming back. And I know you guys just went through a big tryout camp. You obviously have to bring in a whole new team. You're brand new, so you have to build this team from all these people that are out there trying to live their dream and living it every single day. Can you talk about the energy that brings and what that first tryout was like for not just yourself, but for these players as well?
Yeah, no, definitely the energy was there. I'm a high energy type of person. I'm always right away in the morning, bringing it with the energy, all through all the day until I pass out. Um, but tryouts was amazing. The energy was on point. It literally felt like we already had chemistry. It felt like we were in the middle of the season. It was that good. And I know that the second one's going to be even better.
Well, how big is the team for arena league like this, indoor football, UIFA, right? UIFA. Yep.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So our roster, 30, it'll run 30 deep, and we'll travel with 21. So it's definitely different from the 50 man plus roster for NFL. And it's going to get tough, cutting that roster down. So, and just setting it. So I'm excited.
I haven't played football in a long time, coach. A big fan, but something about the coach's son being a year ahead of me when I was in high school that just I was like, nah, I'm good. I think I'm good. We already know who's getting the ball. So does everybody else.
Yep.
I'm good. They had some success. I'm not going to hate on them, but I think that my love of football has definitely come more recently. I've always been a fan of the game. Cursorily, I grew up a Bears fan, so this is a very natural thing for me here. I
Yeah.
will tell all of our fans now that I have converted. I rock the purple with my wife now and have become a Vikings fan over the course. But what sold me on this Vikings team really was the coach. Coach Kevin O'Connell. I think he's just a man that I would aspire to be, and I think that was the start for me. And seeing you and how you've approached this challenge, and from being a defensive backs coach to stepping into not an assistant role and not just a head coaching role, but you are the general manager of this team. You are building this team for your first time ever. It's a lot to take on. And I think you alluded to it earlier, God doesn't give us more than we can handle. How much has your faith kind of tied into your whole story to get where you are? And we won't get into your personal story too much today. We got to save something for the documentary, but just share what your faith means to not just your personal story, but what it means when you bring it to the football field as well.
Oh, well, first of all, faith is everything. I literally, I have no worries. I know that God takes my worries and replaces them with miracles. I wake up, and part of my morning routine is a prayer, and somewhere in that prayer, I add in, I expect miracles, and I get miracles in abundance. With you, everything is possible, and everything is true, and that's 100% spot on. I know that no matter what, he's with me, through the ups and the downs. And it's been amazing. Some things have been happening to the point where, there's no other explanation. I give all glory to God. Honestly, I believe my faith has just gotten so much stronger over the past few years, actually, and we will get into that, and save it for the documentary, though. But just bringing it to the football field, letting these guys know, the sport. It's more than just on the field. It's off the field too. And, I got some plans for our team. So that's for sure. We got some big things going.
Well, and I think God has plans for your team. The St. Paul Bears are a miracle. They're like and me knowing a little bit more and everyone else as we continue to build this story and team up to tell this story, a little bit of inside baseball. We're going to be working real close for, well, probably the next rest of our lives.
Mhm.
But but there's so much to tell that you couldn't squeeze it all into one podcast, even if you tried. And what I kind of want to focus on today, because we have such a big weekend coming up here, as not just myself goes out, and for all of our listeners, my band Starts and Ends will be playing up in Minnesota this weekend at the Grand Casino. We got an opportunity to rock a battle of the bands, and you don't go to war without calling your squad. And it came to me. We had teamed up on, already talking about doing this podcast episode. But it was like, Coach, could you bring a few players? I got some free tickets to this thing, and I want to make it memorable. And what better way to do that than to show up with a bunch of guys that know what hype is? So March 29th, we're all going to be getting together at the Grand Casino there in Hinckley, Minnesota. And it's kind of a coming out party for not just my band, but also for the St. Paul Bears as you introduce yourself to the community. Can you talk about, what your team's going to bring to that event for us?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we're gonna bring the hype. We're gonna bring the energy. That's just who we are. And this is a huge opportunity, and I'm so grateful for it. God placed us together for a certain reason, and we're gonna rock and roll with it. But yeah, no, this is an amazing opportunity to get our faces in front of the community, in front of the state. Grand Casino is a big venue. So this is going to be huge. We're extremely excited. We will be bringing some merch for the fans. So, I can't give away a lot, but it might be a couple autographed footballs and, we'll see what goes on.
There's going to be some special treats in there for sure. And Coach, I'll admit, I didn't know how big the venue was. As a musician, you kind of put in for a lot of these things, and you do so many of them that you kind of forget. And that's exactly what happened to me about 10 days ago. And I got an email that's like, congratulations, you've been selected. And I was like, what is this? I'm afraid to click the link because I think they're going to try to steal my social security number. Not that that's worth anything anyway, but, um, bunch of debt, right?
Yeah.
And I click on it. I was like, oh, this is a big deal, right? There's a pretty big cash prize at the end of this, and I wanted to win. As someone who never really won a championship in my life, I always loved team sports. I was big baseball player, kind of got there, but not all the way. And I've always loved because a team is a family. And it's a family that you choose, and you wake up every day, and even if you don't agree with them on every single aspect, you agree to the task at hand. And that's why I speak about football being so reflective of life, right? We can't always choose who is on our team or at our job, but we are uniting around one purpose. And that purpose for a football team is bringing home a championship. And for us this weekend, it is the same. We are going there to win. And that's why, when they gave me free tickets, they were like, oh, we'll give them to a few fans. And I was like, well, I'm 6 hours away in South Dakota. So anybody who's a fan of my band is probably not going to show up anyway. So I'm going to do you one better. And I'm going to call these guys that are ready to make a big noise in the state of Minnesota, in this UIFA football league, and to be something greater than the sum of our parts, and to be a championship caliber football team. And I'm so happy to be a part of it. I know you got another round of tryouts coming up here, Coach. Can we get some dates for that? And shout out to all the young football players that are hungry for an opportunity to play more ball.
Yeah, no. I'm actually I just got a notification on my phone. Um, we are going to be shooting for April 6th. It's a Sunday. Time still to be determined, but we'll probably figure that out as soon as I get off this podcast. So We just
Incredible. So
got
you
some
young
live.
football players, April 6th. Do you know the venue?
Yeah, it will actually be at our new team facility, Toka Soccer Center in Burnsville. We're extremely excited. I wanted our second tryout to be there just so players could come in, see the facility, look at all the amenities that we have to offer, and um, trying to kind of get that feel for what the season's going to bring.
Yeah, what better way to give the players that little extra incentive? Not that anybody needs it, but to walk into the building and go, this is where I could be spending a lot of time. Bring that extra juice, man, that extra 5, 10% that
Hmm.
maybe you didn't know you had. And that's to say that everybody's given 100% when you're coming out to these things, but who's got that extra heart? Who's got that little bit of extra to give? And then that's who you're building this team around. And I know you're going to have a hard job when it comes down to having to make cuts and to building the 30-man roster. But I think you're the man for the job, and they couldn't have picked anyone better, Coach.
I appreciate that. And yeah, that's I purposely made the first tryouts 8 a.m. Just to see who's hungry, who really wants it, who's going to get up. Are you going to stay up on Saturday night, go out partying, or are you going to stay in knowing you got something important in front of you? So that was the first test.
Well, you're testing me now because I was supposed to come home April 5th from Minnesota, but I might have to stay one extra day, catch some tryouts, and then I can drive home on Sunday.
Most definitely. We
I gotta be there, man. This is my team.
got to make it happen. So,
Well, coach, there's something I grew up saying that I want to bring to this squad too, and that's bear down.
hey, let's go. I like
Thanks for
that.
being on the show, coach.
Thanks for having me. I can't wait for this weekend. Everybody come on out.
Let's do it.